3:41 p.m. local time. The Caribbean Sea lies still, so calm it almost feels misleading. From the flight deck of a U.S. aircraft carrier moving through international waters, the view seems ordinary. Open blue water, clear skies, routine activity. To anyone unfamiliar with naval operations, there is no obvious sign of danger. But at sea, risk is not measured by what the eye can catch. It is measured by what the sensors find. Deep inside the ship, in the Combat Information Center, radar screens glow with steady precision. Tracks drift across the displays in familiar patterns. Civilian traffic, distant weather clutter, nothing unusual. Until that changes. A fresh group of contacts appears high above, moving fast, clean, unmistakably military. 5 of them. The watch officer leans in. Speed readings jump. Altitude begins to fall. These are not civilian aircraft. These are fighter jets coming in quickly from the south. On the bridge, the captain is informed at once. No shouting, no panic, only calm recognition. The carrier stays on course. It has no reason to do otherwise. This ship is not operating alone. At the center of a fully integrated strike group, it is backed by destroyers, cruisers, submarines, airborne surveillance, and satellites, all linked through a single network. Every mile of sky around it is being watched. Every signal is being logged. Every movement is being measured. The incoming aircraft are identified without delay. Venezuelan Air Force F-16S, older airframes, only partly modernized, kept flying through careful upkeep and adaptation. On paper, they remain Venezuela's strongest fighter platform. In practice, they represent something more symbolic than decisive. For Caracas, these jets are as much a political message as a military asset, meant to project defiance, relevance, and resolve. Over recent weeks, pressure in the Caribbean has been building quietly. U.S. naval activity has increased, counter-smuggling efforts have intensified. Routes once treated as dependable have been disrupted. Each move has been lawful, deliberate, and impossible to misread. Venezuela has noticed. Military observers know this pattern well. When a smaller power cannot compete in raw capability, it often turns to proximity. Low passes, close approaches, sharp maneuvers, actions intended to provoke a response and create headlines. But the U.S. Navy does not respond on impulse. It responds according to doctrine. As the 5 F-16S continue inbound, the carrier strike group remains steady. No fighters launch, no abrupt turns follow, no visible escalation. Everything is documented. Everything is monitored. On the flight deck, sailors pause and glance upward. This is not unfamiliar territory for them. What they show is not fear, but professional curiosity. The ship beneath their feet weighs more than 100,000 tons, built to withstand pressure in every sense, physical and political alike. Inside the CIC, data continues pouring in. Radar returns, speed profiles, altitude changes, electronic emissions. The fighters are active now. Their radars are on. Their radios are alive. Their engines are working harder as they descend. Every signal tells its own story, and with every mile they close, that story becomes clearer. What the pilots may see as a bold show of strength looks very different from the carrier's side. To the ship, this is a stream of valuable information. Patterns, frequencies, reactions, behavior under pressure. The kind of insight no training scenario can fully reproduce and no budget can simply purchase. The Venezuelan jets keep descending. This is not a distant pass. It is intentional, forceful, carefully chosen. Even so, the carrier holds its course. This is the kind of moment where misjudgments are born, where history can tilt because of a single decision. One aircraft drifting a little too far, one radar lock interpreted the wrong way, one pilot mistaking restraint for uncertainty. But the U.S. Navy has spent decades learning one hard lesson. Escalation tends to favor the impatient. As the distance closes, the tension sharpens. The airspace around the carrier is no longer open and empty. It is crowded with intent, risk, sensors, and cameras catching every second. 5 fighters, 1 carrier, seconds away from the next move. And the Venezuelan pilots do not yet realize that the most important part of this encounter has already started. The first jet breaks formation. On radar, the change is immediate. One contact surges forward, nose dropping, altitude falls rapidly. Then a second aircraft follows. Then a third. Within moments, all 5 Venezuelan F-16S leave their level approach and roll into a steep descent. This is no routine flyby. In the Combat Information Center, the symbology shifts. Vectors lengthen, closure rates climb. The systems do not guess, they calculate. And the calculation is simple. These aircraft are diving straight toward the carrier group. From the bridge, the horizon still looks almost unchanged. Calm sea, clear sky. But above it, the sound begins to build. At first low and distant, then unmistakable. A rising roar carried by engines pushed well beyond cruise power. On the flight deck, crews look up as shadows cut across the clouds. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is fast even by modern standards, light, nimble, built for hard maneuvering. And right now, those pilots are using all of that performance. Afterburners flare, heat signatures intensify. The fighters slice downward through layers of air at tremendous speed. From inside the Venezuelan cockpits, the maneuver likely feels decisive, dramatic, close enough to force a response. But the carrier gives them none. No alarms echo across the deck. No scramble order follows. The ship neither turns into the approach nor away from it. It continues on the same heading at the same speed, exactly as planned. Because long before those jets became visible, they had already been tracked. Inside the carrier's layered defense network, everything is active but discreetly. Long-range radar continues painting the sky. Passive systems listen. Electronic warfare suites log emissions without revealing themselves. This is not a moment for noise. It is a moment for clarity. As the fighters descend, they begin spreading laterally, creating space for a dramatic pass. One angles toward the bow, two drift toward starboard. The last pair stays slightly higher, observing. It is classic intimidation geometry. The nearest jet flashes into view above the flight deck, low enough for sailors to make out its markings. The pass is quick, loud, deliberate. The air trembles under the pressure, the kind of move designed to own the moment. But control is the real measure of dominance, and control is not fully in the pilot's hands. Every radar sweep from those aircraft is being captured. Every radio call is being recorded. Every change in engine output, every shift in altitude, every correction made by a pilot under strain is becoming part of the record. All of it matters. One jet drops lower than the rest, skimming beneath its wingmen. For a brief instant, the geometry tightens. The safety margin shrinks. At those speeds, even a tiny error can become disastrous. Still, the carrier does not respond. This is not hesitation. It is discipline. The U.S. Navy's rules of engagement are clear, but they are also strategic. Force is not the opening move. It is the final one, especially when the priority is to prevent escalation while preserving the advantage. And in this moment, that advantage is growing with every passing second. The Venezuelan pilots may think they are pressuring the carrier. From the carrier's perspective, the jets are exposing themselves, their tactics, their limits, their dependence on intimidation over coordination. As the fighters reach the bottom of the dive and begin climbing away, the formation is looser than before. The pass did not produce the reaction they were expecting. No abrupt course change, no visible shift in posture, no shouted radio challenge, only silence. And that silence has its own weight. For the pilots, it introduces doubt. Did the message get through? Did it matter at all, or did they completely misread the situation? As the F-16s pull away, the carrier remains exactly what it was moments earlier. Massive, steady, unmoved, unimpressed. But beneath that calm exterior, the meaning of the encounter has already changed. What began as a performance of bravado has turned into something much more consequential. Because the dive is over. And now, everything those jets revealed on the way down belongs to the United States Navy. By the time the Venezuelan aircraft start climbing, the most important phase of the encounter is already finished. Nothing detonates. No projectiles are launched. No alarms race across the decks. To an outside observer, it might seem as though nothing happened. That conclusion would be completely wrong. Inside the strike group's network, the airspace is alive with information. Every second of the descent has been captured, sorted, and stored. Not as spectacle, but as data. Modern naval warfare is not decided by who flies closest. It is decided by who reveals the most. And during that dive, the F-16S revealed plenty. Their fire control radars swept. Navigation systems adjusted. Radios lit up with cockpit exchanges and coordination calls to controllers on the ground. Engine output changed as afterburners ignited, throwing strong infrared signatures into the cool Caribbean air. Every one of those actions leaves its own fingerprint. The carrier's sensors do not need to announce themselves to hear the story. Passive detection systems quietly collect radar waveforms, building a precise picture without saying a word. Electronic support systems begin sorting through the signal environment with remarkable precision. Frequencies, pulse intervals, modulation patterns, all of it is identified, compared, and refined against existing libraries in real time. This is not just observation, it is deep recognition. Every aircraft carries its own signature, the way its radar behaves under strain, the way its pilot communicates during aggressive maneuvering, the way engine output shifts when the aircraft is pushed hard at low altitude. The Venezuelan pilots believe they are putting power on display. In reality, they are broadcasting, and the closer they come, the easier they are to read. One jet's radar spikes for a moment as it tries to sharpen range accuracy. Another makes a sharper than needed altitude correction, reacting to turbulence near the sea surface. A third falls half a beat behind the rest of the formation during the pull-up. Small details, human details, but real-world confrontations are often decided in those narrow margins. Inside the Combat Information Center, analysts watch those patterns take shape. This is not their first time dealing with Venezuelan aircraft, but it is their clearest look yet. Training missions cannot fully reproduce genuine pressure. Exercises cannot recreate real uncertainty. This moment can. The stream of data arriving now is the kind that cannot be bought, scripted, or guessed. It has to be revealed. And the jets are revealing it willingly. As the fighters climb away, their emissions begin to fade. Radar modes change. Radio traffic drops off. The performance is ending. But the exchange already happened. The carrier never needed to use force because this was never really about bringing down aircraft. It was about seeing them with total clarity. In naval doctrine, there is a concept that feels both old and modern at the same time: escalation dominance. The ability to control the pace of a confrontation without ever seeming to seize control at all. The Venezuelan pilots came in close, loud, and fast. They forced proximity. They forced attention. What they did not force was fear. The carrier strike group did not react because it did not have to. It had already gained something far more valuable than a visible tactical answer. It had learned. From this point on, those F-16S are no longer unknowns. Their behavior under pressure has been captured. Their system signatures have been sharpened. Their tactics have been observed in real conditions. If those same aircraft appear again, closer, louder, or under different circumstances, the Navy will not be meeting them for the first time. It will be meeting them for the second. And in military encounters, the second meeting usually favors the side that paid attention the first time. As the last jet disappears into the distance, the Caribbean sky settles back into a quiet blue. On deck, crews return to work. Aircraft handlers signal. Operations continue without interruption. To a casual observer, it may look like restraint. To professionals, it looks like a win without spectacle. Because sometimes the defining moment in a confrontation is not when weapons are used. It is when one side realizes too late that it has already revealed its position. As the Venezuelan F-16S continue climbing away, the sky above the carrier clears with surprising speed. No pursuit follows. No American fighters rise from the deck. The carrier strike group does not compress its formation or send warnings over open frequencies. Instead, it keeps doing exactly what it has done since the first radar contact appeared. From the outside, it remains steady. To anyone unfamiliar with naval operations, that kind of restraint can be easy to misread. Silence can look like uncertainty. Stillness can be mistaken for hesitation. Inside the strike group, it means the opposite. The U.S. Navy's response to provocation is not built on emotion. It is built on control. Control of space, control of information, and above all, control of escalation. Even as the jets withdraw, the carrier's sensors continue tracking them until they move beyond effective range. Every heading change is recorded. Every drop in speed is noted. The encounter is not over just because the aircraft are leaving. It ends when the information flow ends. On the bridge, the captain reviews incoming reports. There is no debate over whether to answer with force. That question was settled long before the jets came into view. The rules of engagement are clear, but the doctrine behind them goes further. You do not escalate when escalation serves the other side. For Venezuela, the objective was obvious. Trigger a reaction, capture dramatic imagery, build a narrative of defiance, turn a close approach into propaganda. The Navy denies them all of it. No dramatic footage of American fighters launching, no intercepted threats shouted over the radio, no visible shift into a posture that can be clipped, edited, and replayed. In the end, there is only the image of 5 jets passing a ship that never flinched. And that absence is not accidental. It is part of the message. Within the strike group, defensive systems remain active but discreet. Protective layers stay ready. Air assets remain available beyond the horizon. Subsurface elements continue their silent watch. At no point is the carrier left vulnerable. It simply chooses not to advertise how prepared it is. That approach reflects decades of experience. From Cold War standoffs to today's gray zone confrontations, the Navy has learned that visible reactions often reward the very behavior they are meant to discourage. Silence does the opposite. It shifts the pressure back onto the side that came looking for attention. Now the Venezuelan pilots are left with an uneasy question on the way home. Did it work? They came close. They were loud. They were aggressive. And still, the target never changed course, never responded, never acknowledged them in the way they expected. In military terms, that is deeply unsettling. Because when a force built to dominate the battle space chooses not to demonstrate that dominance, it suggests something more powerful underneath. Confidence, preparation, and the understanding that escalation is always a choice, never an obligation. Back aboard the carrier, operations continue on schedule. Aircraft are positioned, Fuel lines are checked. Maintenance crews move across the deck with the same rhythm and precision they had before the encounter. Nothing appears different, and that by itself is the message. The Navy does not need to prove its presence through visible reaction. Its presence is assumed, its capability is understood, its restraint is intentional. Strategically, this is escalation control in its most refined form. The ability to absorb pressure without reflecting it back, to let the other side spend its options while you keep the initiative. The Venezuelan jets are gone, but their decision to approach, descend, and provoke has not been dismissed. It has been processed. And when naval professionals say something has been processed, they mean it has already been folded into planning, readiness, and future decision-making that may never be publicly seen. So the encounter ends not with a warning shot or a chase, but with a quiet entry in logs and databases. The U.S. Navy did not fire because it did not need to. In this confrontation, silence was not the absence of power. It was power, clearly expressed. By nightfall, the Caribbean looks exactly as it did before. Calm water, open sky, commercial traffic moving through international waters as if nothing unusual ever happened. To anyone watching from a distance, the afternoon leaves behind no visible mark. No debris, no smoke, no immediate headline written across the horizon. But naval encounters are rarely measured by what the ocean looks like afterward. They are measured by what changes beneath the surface, inside the strike group, inside the network, inside the planning that follows. The day's events are already moving from live tracking into long-term analysis. Data collected during the descent is being reviewed, cross-checked, and shared across command channels. Radar signatures are refined, communication habits are logged, tactical patterns are examined without drama and without exaggeration. This is how modern naval power grows stronger over time. The Venezuelan pilots likely returned believing they completed their mission. They flew close, they forced proximity, they showed resolve. On paper, the sortie may be recorded as a successful demonstration of presence. But presence by itself does not change the balance. What they cannot see is what happens next on the other side. From this moment forward, those aircraft are no longer theoretical concerns. They are known quantities. Their response times, formation discipline, and system behavior under real pressure now exist as reference points for future planning. And that kind of knowledge does not simply fade. In the days that follow, U.S. operations in the region continue without visible change. The carrier stays on station. Patrol patterns remain steady. There is no sudden surge meant to advertise dominance and no reduction meant to suggest retreat. That consistency is deliberate. Strategic messaging does not always come through force. Sometimes it comes through continuity. The message is simple. Nothing you did changed our mission. For Venezuela's leadership, that reality is difficult to shape into a useful narrative. Provocations are designed to pull out a reaction. When no reaction appears, the story begins to collapse inward. The question stops being, did we challenge them? And becomes, why didn't they respond? And that question matters because a force that does not react publicly is often a force that never felt compelled to. Military history is filled with moments when escalation seemed inevitable until one side chose restraint and, by doing so, denied the other side its objective. This encounter belongs in that category. No direct confrontation followed, no retaliation was necessary, yet the balance still shifted quietly and unmistakably, not through intimidation, but through discipline. The carrier strike group demonstrated something stronger than aggression. Control. Control of sensors, control of information, control of timing, and ultimately, control of the narrative. The Venezuelan jets descended towards steel and silence, expecting acknowledgement. What they received instead was analysis. That difference matters. In future encounters, whether they come days, months, or years later, the Navy will remember this flight. The information gathered here will shape decisions that may never be visible to the public, and the pilots involved may never fully understand how much they revealed in those few seconds over the Caribbean. But naval professionals understand a simple truth. Power is not always measured by what you do in the moment. Sometimes it is measured by what you gain without acting at all. As the carrier continues its patrol, the lesson of the day settles into doctrine where it belongs. Provocation does not automatically deserve a response. Noise is not leverage. And restraint, when backed by real capability, is not weakness. It is dominance.